Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Cancel Vacation. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a social justice, social media mob looking to cancel her in this all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Cancel Vacation in paperback and e-readers today. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about an African Cornell University student activist who chose to leave the U.S. after his bid to block deportation was denied. Now, according to reports, Mamadou Tall, who was a doctoral candidate in Africana Studies at the Ivy League Cornell University, wound up with his student visa revoked because of alleged involvement in disruptive pro-Palestinian protests, which were deemed to be creating a hostile environment for Jewish students. And because he was participating in these pro-Palestinian protests, Mamadou Tall wound up with his visa revoked and was on a road to basically being deported. But before ICE agents could go out here and deport him from the country, he just announced that he is going to be leaving the United States on his own. Now, this is a sad situation for Mamadou Tall, but it's a situation that when it comes to foundational Black Americans, this really doesn't concern us because this basically is a third-party dispute between an African individual from a foreign country and the institution of America. And basically what's happening here to Mamadou Tall is he's basically learning that when it comes down to the system of white supremacy, they basically are going to, again, go out here and bring the hammer down on anyone who participates in campaigns that go against their institution. And basically what happened here with Mamadou Tall is he didn't really understand the subtle politics transpiring around a Ivy League university like Cornell University as related to him having that visa. That student visa basically was not a ticket to citizenship that was going to be something where it was going to be unconditional. No, there were conditions for that student visa, and one of the conditions of that student visa was he was supposed to carry and conduct himself to the standards of the university as related to his conduct and, most importantly, his politics. And that's really what Mamadou Tall didn't really understand about the subtle politics that go on at colleges and universities. Now, there has been a lot of controversy on many of these college campuses ever since the October 7th act of terrorism that took place in Israel. And ever since that act of terrorism took place, a lot of people have been surprised to see a lot of people looking to support the Palestinian political cause and looking to support that Palestinian political cause on universities like Columbia University here in New York. And what happened at those schools is that many of these protests basically wound up meeting with a major backlash, and a major backlash because it really went against the politics of the school. Because when it comes down to these Ivy League universities and even many of these local colleges, they get a lot of money from many of these donors and these trusts, and basically the school is looking to support the people who bring money to the school, and they don't want to alienate those people the way I believe her name was Pauline Gay, or whatever her name is, at Harvard University. It was Claudine Gay at Harvard University. She wound up alienating all of those donors, and those donors basically pulled their funding, and that's when they pulled Claudine Gay out of the presidency of Harvard University. And as these schools have been dealing with a funding crisis from funders, donors, corporations, and trusts pulling their money, they have been looking to get their schools back in line as related to the conduct of their students. And that's one of the reasons why Mamadou Tall wound up with his student visa being revoked. He wound up with his student visa being revoked because he didn't really understand the subtle politics that transpire on a university campus. He didn't understand that when you go to these schools, everything is conditional, and with everything being conditional, you need to carry and conduct yourself in a way that basically allows you to be able to continue pursuing your education. And that's something Mamadou Tall won't be able to do. This man, who basically is on his road to getting a doctorate at one of America's Ivy League universities, wound up losing that opportunity, all because he decided to get involved with campus politics, and campus politics of people who really have nothing to do with black people. I mean, that's the whole sad part about this whole situation. This guy basically got involved with campus politics of Palestinians who really weren't looking to do anything for black people, whether they be foundational black Americans like myself or Africans like Mamadou Tall, who comes from the country of Gambia. When it comes down to those individuals, they basically want to differentiate themselves from black people, whether they be American-born blacks or foreign-born blacks. And sadly, Mamadou Tall, even though he was educated, wasn't smart enough to think critically about this whole situation. No, he got caught up in the whole ideals of religion, not understanding the subtle politics going on as related to white supremacy and the social and racial pyramid. No, what happened to him is basically he wound up getting himself in this situation, fighting for someone else's political cause. And what's really sad is that no one from those Palestinians has ever come out to advocate for him as he's being deported from this country. And what's really interesting here is that Mamadou Tall, the African black student, is on his way out of this country. Meanwhile, many of the Palestinian activists are still, again, in court, but nobody's, again, looking to go out here and put it on a fast track like it did for this black African. And sadly, this black African won't see the big picture as related to the racism going on, won't see the big picture as related to the racism going on, because they fast-tracked his deportation, and that shows his place in the pecking order of white supremacy, even though he was going to one of the most prominent Ivy League schools. Even though he was going to an Ivy League school, they basically are booting him out just like they would any other person, because the foundation of all of this politics is anti-black racism. And sadly, this is what sadly happened here in the case of this third-party dispute, a third-party dispute that sadly Mamadou Tall got himself involved in. And as he got himself involved in this third-party dispute between these two groups as related to the Israelis and the Palestinians and their political cause, it led to him being the big loser at the end. And this is one of the reasons why I have to agree with Professor Black Truth about not getting involved with third-party disputes. We don't get involved with third-party disputes because those third-party disputes are not going to go out here and be ones that are going to be beneficial to us, because neither side is on the side of black people, whether it be Africans or foundational black Americans. And that's why we stay out of other people's fights, because it's not our business. And that's what Mamadou Tall should have been doing. He should have just focused on getting his doctorate and getting his degree and keeping his student visa in good standing, because when it comes down to these pro-Palestinian protests, they're not going to have any sort of impact. Anyone would know this if they read the Word of God. They would understand the only person who's going to settle the whole situation between Israel and Palestine is going to be the Most High God. When his Son returns to the earth, he will settle this dispute. And again, this is one of the main reasons why I don't make videos about any of this whole situation, because I understand that God is the one who will settle that dispute. And with it being a third-party dispute, I am not to get involved in those affairs, and I would advise anybody, whether they be foundational black American or foreign-born black, stay out of those affairs on these university campuses. This got nothing to do with us. No, our whole issues need to be focused on, focusing on getting our degrees at these schools, and then focusing on working with people towards developing our own black agenda, and focusing on our own black agenda, for our tangibles, because it's clear that when it came down to this guy Mamadou Tall, yes, he went out here and protested for the pro-Palestinian cause, but those same pro-Palestinians did not advocate or say a word about him, didn't say a single word about him. No, they just basically stayed away, as this dual citizen of the UK and Gambia basically wound up on a fast track to deportation, a forced fast track to deportation, because he basically got involved with politics that had nothing to do with him, not understanding the subtle politics transpiring around these universities and how they are funded. That's something every black person really needs to understand. Again, these schools basically, well, you have to look at where they get their money from. And again, they're going to stand with those who are the ones funding them. And if you're not on the side of those people funding them, then you're going to be on a fast track out the door. And that's what happened to Mamadou Tall. He thought, oh, I'll go out here and advocate for somebody else's political cause. But the whole thing is they weren't advocating for him. And that's why he's on a fast track on the road to deportation, and basically was forced to leave the country on his own in an effort to save face. He wound up leaving the country in an effort to save his face, because he didn't really understand that, again, when it comes down to black people, we don't get involved in third-party affairs, and we don't get involved in third-party affairs because both sides are anti-black, and with both sides being anti-black, we stay out of business that doesn't belong to us. We stay out of affairs that ain't got nothing to do with us. If it's not about tangibles for a black vote, or it's not about providing tangibles for foundational black Americans, I ain't getting in the middle of it. It ain't got nothing to do with me. And that's the way many black people, we have to see things as related to other people's political causes, because other people are not going to fight for our cause. And that's where this Ivy League black African man is now on his way to being out of the Ivy Leagues and out of the whole prominence of that Ivy League education. And he's lost that opportunity at an Ivy League education because he didn't understand the unwritten rules of white supremacy. And because he didn't understand the unwritten rules of white supremacy, they've basically revoked his opportunity at being a part of America and being an opportunity at being a bootlick, because basically he didn't go out here and lick the boots of the white supremacists. So they basically went out here and showed him the door. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and they couldn't pay for the video, but I decided to do it anyway, because I want people to understand why we need to stay out of third-party disputes. Now, if you want to help pay for this video, you can drop a donation to the PayPal or the Cash App for $15. And if you want to request the video, you can drop a minimum of $15 to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. And if I know something about that subject, I will make that video for you. And if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And you can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.